This is the Playbook.
Welcome to the Playbook Pod. Today we have Cam Cormany from Radford High School. He's on his senior year. In his 3 years at Radford, him and his teammates have had a career of 81-5. He's a guard from Radford High School. He's averaged 21 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, shoots 44% behind the three-point line, and has a 4.0 grade point average. That's the impressive part there. So he was also District Player of the Year, Regional Player of the Year, and First Team All-State, and a member of the 2018-19 team that went 30-0 and won the state championship. How you doing, Cam?
Good. How are you? Glad
Good,
to be
man.
here. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you on.
Excited.
Well, good. So first off, just tell us about yourself and how you kind of got into basketball.
So I'm Cam Cormany, obviously, from Radford, Virginia. Lived here my whole life. Have two siblings, younger brother, and older sister. Been around basketball my whole life. Dad coaches is actually my high school coach. He's been here at Radford coaching for a good while. He's done a great job. But I kind of got into basketball. I mean, just from a young age, being around it. Going to practices, hanging out with the players. I kind of just fell in love with it. And from a young age, my dad would have me in the gym, getting up shots, or coming in the mornings before school. I can remember times where me and my sister would come in before school, and I'm like in first grade, working out. But for a while there, I was playing football, baseball. But after my 8th grade year, I quit football and started really focusing on basketball. Working out daily. But like I said, just been around it my whole life, and I just love it. And that's kind of how I got introduced to it, just being around it.
I hear you, man. That's similar to me, just growing up around the game.
Yep.
And Coach Puckett's probably got a better relationship with you than I do. I just know you from afar. Obviously,
Yes,
I watch you play every now and then. Played against your dad when I was with Floyd and at Galax. So
yes, I remember you well.
Go up against you guys plenty of times in my day.
Yes, sir.
And I know the Roanoke Times wrote a great article about you. Read that a few days ago. I thought that they did a great job. But could you just go through some details of, your recruiting process and how you decided to get to Navy and what all went into that?
Right. So Navy, originally started recruiting me last year in the fall. They, brought me up there for a visit to a football game. I watched a practice. That's when they really started getting interested in me. They during the season, they ended up coming to a practice and watching me practice. And Navy's kind of just since day one been the school that's kept in contact with me the most. Believed in me. Like I think I said that in the article. But with that, it's just like a really neat opportunity. Not many people can get the chance to. I mean, it's a pretty prestigious school. I definitely wouldn't be able to get in if it weren't for basketball. But I think 3 weeks ago, that the head coach ended up calling me. That there for a month, they'd been getting pretty serious about me, like calling me quite often. And the head coach ended up calling me and offering me a full scholarship. And I was like, I don't need to wait around any longer. I mean, this is what I want. This is what I've been waiting for. I'm just going to go ahead and commit and sign. So that's kind of how that went about. But like I said, since day one, they've kind of just been the school that I've kind of kept vision on, and I'm very excited about it. It's a neat opportunity, and I couldn't be more thankful about it. For sure.
I'm assuming you knew Coach Nichols growing up and stuff too, watching him play. So describe that relationship a little bit. I'd be interested to hear about that.
Coach Nichols, he's like a second dad. I'm around him all the time. His sons obviously, play college basketball. One's coaching now at Florida, and one's coaching at Murray State. Great family. I mean, Coach Nichols started working me out when I was real young, and in my opinion, he's the best shooting coach that there is. I mean, it doesn't get any better than him. I can be in the best shape that I'm in, and I go work out with him. Even today, I could go work out with him, and I would be dying. And I'm like, how does that happen? Like, he's a one of a kind for sure. But off the floor, he's, like I said, he's been a second dad. I mean, he'd do anything in the world for me. I love him. I mean, it's since day one. Like, he's been there. So we've been real close for a while, for sure.
So as you're transitioning into your senior year and then going to, college, what are things that you're working on to develop as a player, and what are some things you think you need to strengthen yourself so you can continue to grow?
Right. So, right now, and like especially during like when COVID hit, I had kind of, thought about it. Well, since we didn't have, the gym to get in, and we were just kind of just shooting outside, I was like, well, I think this is a good time to, work on my athleticism and just become just a really, athletic player. And in some ways, I think that's like how COVID has, benefited me some is, I've been able to focus on other things other than just, being in the gym and work and getting up shots and, working on my game. So, I've been working on athleticism for sure, jumping programs, speed programs, making sure you're in the lifting 3 times a week. So yeah, I felt like that was, one of my weaknesses. I felt like coaches were, hesitant to recruit me because of my size, and maybe they felt like I was somewhat of a liability on defense. But, and so that's what I've worked on, and obviously it's worked out. But also, I think Navy's going to want me to play point guard, and I haven't, since we've had Q, I haven't really played much point guard. Didn't play much last year because they wanted me out on the wing. I had to score a lot for us, to be in games. We just didn't have that depth, like I was telling you last year. So, I've been, trying to study the game a little more, just like looking at reads, like making a good play into a great play, not turning the ball over, and just continue to work on my ball handling and, being that floor general that you need to be a point guard. So that's kind of what I've been working on lately, and felt like was my weakness there for a while. But, everything, you can never be too good at anything. So you just got to keep working.
Right, and with that, your high school career is very unique compared to probably most people. It's changed every year, and I feel like you've been in almost every big game in Virginia.
Yes. I mean,
and how's it changed from like your freshman year, from your sophomore year to your junior, and I know this upcoming senior year, hopefully we'll get to have it as well.
Right. So, and that's a great question. Freshman year, obviously, our season got ended by Gate City, who, had the Mac McClung, they had the Zach Irvin, the Bradley Dean, and it, they were just like hyped out of the, roof. And we played them in the Dedman Center. I remember it like it's yesterday. We were 27-0 at the time, and I felt like we had the team to win a state championship if we could. I felt like us and Gate City were the 2 best teams, in the state, and they ended up losing, so we got to play them in the quarterfinals. That game was something else. I mean, there was, I think, like, Dedman Center was packed. There was people standing on the sides. I mean, tickets were selling out. It was like one of the craziest things I've ever been a part of. And being a freshman, I'm like, golly, this is crazy. And, playing significant minutes also. And so that game, I didn't play as well as I felt I should have. And I didn't hit shots that I normally hit. And I just felt like in that moment I was just too immature. And, I had some growing up to do for sure. Just wasn't ready for, a moment like that. And that off season going into sophomore year was like, okay, I put my head down and I'm grinding. Like, I don't want that to ever happen again. I don't want to feel that way. I mean, it was just embarrassing. Like, in front of your hometown, you lay an egg in a huge game, and it embarrassed me. So, like, the only thing I could really do was like, okay, I got to get back in the gym. This is the only thing that gets my mind off what happened. And sophomore year, ended up winning a state championship, and I credit a lot of that to just that Gate City moment and that game where I didn't play so well. And then junior year, just, being a leader and being mature in those moments, I feel like it all, kind of came from losing to Gate City my freshman year. So that's
I look at it as, that it's pretty mature of you as a freshman to be that upset after the fact, because I've been to high school basketball games. I'm 35 years old, and I've been to high school basketball games for years, and I've never seen a crowd like that in my entire life at a high school basketball game.
It was something else for sure.
The Dadman Center was packed. That's the only time I've ever waited for a high school basketball game in the line, and that was, I don't know if I could have walked up there to take a layup, I would have airballed it, which I might have done that without any fans either. But still, it's one of those things that, in my opinion, that should have been the state final. There was just no way it could work out where it would be the state final.
Right.
But that was that was just one of the craziest atmospheres I've ever seen. And for you to have on that team, how many, you and PJ both were starting as freshmen?
Starting freshmen. I remember in warm-ups, and I'm going to add this in here, I'm sorry. I remember in warm-ups, me and PJ, we were always, he was behind me. And, warm-up, before every game, of course you get butterflies. But, like, in warm-ups, I always felt like that was my time to, start calming down, get rid of those butterflies, hitting shots. And in that game, I just, those warm-ups, I just couldn't get calmed down. Everything was long. My adrenaline was up. And, I just felt like I was just too hyped up for that game. And, that's kind of what it showed in the game. And so it was just something that, I had to obviously, reflect back on and just, realize what I'd kind of done wrong there. So,
and I think, great teams adapt and adjust, and they develop a chip. And I think that's what helped you all that next year is you developed a chip. We should have won this game. And that next year, your team went undefeated.
Yes.
And there was a definite, and Radford's always notorious for having a chip on their shoulder no matter what, kind of like, we're going to come in and win. You have the confidence. Yes. It's not a cockiness, it's an actual confidence. I've always seen it. And that's something that I think that, credit to your dad and the program they built, because it has that chip. And I think y'all were more fired up that next year to come out and win. Then you got to, if I remember right, rematch Gate City. Now, they didn't have Mac McClung.
Right.
But
we did. Yep.
And so,
it was, yep.
Well, we'll transition a little bit. I know, you've obviously played at a very high level, at the high school level and your competition there, but we'll transition into AAU travel, basketball, whatever you want to call it. I'd like to hear your take on what the biggest difference is from your perspective, playing high school basketball to playing AAU or travel, and then, how much of that travel season, this summer league, how much did that impact your recruiting process? Because I know it had a big impact on mine.
Yes. So with AAU, I didn't really play on I kind of only always played on a local team until after my sophomore year. I got on a team that Quentin and Miles had both played for, at a team Winston, and it was a good experience. I met a lot of great people. Met a lot of different, types of people for sure. But I felt like AAU, I just don't like it that much because, people take shortcuts, people take breaks on defense. People don't share the ball. They just don't play the game the right way. And I know it's necessary because that's how you get recruited anymore. But that summer of playing AU kind of opened my eyes up to it. And I was like, I just want to be in the gym. I just want to be in the gym working on my craft. You would leave a Thursday and you don't get back till Sunday, and you may only have 3 games, and you're not getting really to put any gym time in between those 4 days, except, just playing. So, I felt like that just wasn't very beneficial for me. And, I'm not a big fan of it. I know it's necessary, like I said, but so this summer I had decided I wasn't going to play, and I was just going to, bank on my film, bank on, sending, videos of me working out to, colleges, and just really focusing on what I can control. And that's getting better in the gym every single day. And so I didn't play AAU this summer. And, a lot of it didn't go on just, because of COVID. I wasn't going to play anyways. But, like I said, it's necessary. A lot of kids have, thrived in it and been able to get, noticed a lot. And I just didn't feel like it was beneficial for me as a player. And, so that's just kind of my take on AAU.
I would agree with you on a lot, especially, with you playing at Radford. You guys are very team oriented. You're always moving the basketball. You play sound team defense and all those sorts of things. So I definitely see what you're saying. But it sounds like, you say it's necessary. It sounds like it really wasn't that necessary for you. I think you made a good point in that, you were, obviously things didn't work out in general, but I think you had a good idea in, well, you mentioned, I'm going to video my workouts and just use my film from high school and see what that gets me. So I think that's an interesting take, and I hope, somebody, a junior or a sophomore in high school that listens to this will think about that if they have a similar experience that you do with the AAU process.
Yes, sir, for sure.
But we'll get back to that Radford program. There's two questions that are sort of in tandem with one another. What does it feel like to play on a team that's expected? You guys are supposed to win every single year. What does it feel like to be on a team like that? And what do you think has made you guys consistently, state contenders every year? I mean, since I was growing up,
right,
I always see you guys in the mix. So what do you think has been that difference?
I think it all goes back to, accountability and, just, practices. Every single day you're expected to come in and work as hard as you can. It may be defense for an hour and 45 minutes. And if you're not working hard, if you're not going 110 during that an hour and 45 minutes, then, you're not doing it the Bobcat way. And, that's kind of what they preach is like, we're proud of what we do here. And, just because you may be, Quentin Mort Robinson or you may be Miles Jones, you're not going to do anything different than what they've done before you. Okay. So every day it's just, it's a challenge. It's a mental challenge too, because you're so, there's days where you're just so tired, and then they always preach, it's going to pay off. It's going to pay off. And, it usually does. And some years it doesn't, but, a lot of times, you're pretty successful every year. And, and like I said, accountability wise is, you don't show up to a practice, you're expected to be there on time. If you don't show up, you're not going to play, and you're going to have running, in the classroom. If you're misbehaving in the classroom, you're going to have fellowship at the end of the practice. So, it's just something that we take pride in, and we're proud of. And, there's obviously pressure that goes along with it because, you're expected to win every year. You have devoted fans who give us money and, come to every game, no matter who we're playing. We could be playing, a team that's hasn't won that many games that we're expected to beat. And, we still can have a full state, full arena or whatever. So, there's definitely pressure along with it, but, that we try to, just focus more on the journey and like getting better every day. Hey, we'll worry about the state championship when we get there, or, let's just take it day by day, sip by sip. And, but we got a target on our backs, and that's okay. You don't want to be the team that's, it's okay to be like that, but you don't want to be the team that's having to, take down the top dog or whatever you want to call it. But, it's just like something we're proud of here. And, I think it all goes back to the accountability of everything we do. So that's about all as far as that goes.
So far as accountability goes, I've watched a lot of your games, and, playing for your dad, he's not going to play favorites, even though you're his son. And I feel like when I watch the game, and I'm not on the bench, so I don't know, he holds you even more accountable.
Right. He does. And I think that goes back to, me wanting to be good. And if you want to be good as a player, you got to want, the butt chewings. You got to want the feedback. And You know, my dad's always told me, you know, if you don't love the game of basketball, that's okay. But if you tell me you want to play at the next level, or you want to do this, you want to win a state championship, I'm going to push you to the limit, because that's just how it has to be done. And, you know, it's not fun at times. You know, in the games, you're just like, I mean, he's just chewing you out left and right. And you're like, man, can I get a break here? Like, what is going on? But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, I'm always able to reflect back and be like, you know, it's for the best. And, you know, it's helped me for sure. It's helped me.
One of the funniest things I always used to, because I knew the dynamic kind of thing just by seeing it and, you know, work at the school system, is when you would do something, like say you turn the ball over, you missed a defensive assignment, you have like this little smirk on your face, like, and you're mad, but at the same point you're like, I'm getting ready to get chewed out.
Yeah, I mean, I always knew it was coming. So, you know, I kindly just tried to, you know, just go with it, and I know what's coming. So don't let it like affect how I play. Just, you know, let it fire me up even more,
Right.
and realize that it's to help me at the end of the day.
And so this leads into my next question, like perfectly with, you know, this year's unique for multiple reasons, but hopefully we'd have the season. And if we do, you get a chance to play with your brother. So what's your advice for your brother when it comes to, you know, being coached up by your dad? Because that's a, you know, different circumstance, and you've handled it really well. And I think, you know, what people don't understand is your dad is a very nice man. He's not always yelling all the time. They just see the guy on the sidelines, and they probably don't realize he's a guidance counselor, which probably they can't believe it sometimes. So, but what advice would you give your brother?
You know, Gavin's, you know, he's a little different than me. You know, he's more, you got to brag on him a little bit. You got to, you know, be positive with him a little longer before you start getting negative. You got to build him up a little longer. But, you know, and that's okay. You know, some players, just people are different. And my advice to, you know, Gavin would be, you know, you got to realize that if you second guess him, okay, then that gives everybody on the team, okay, they're thinking, oh, that's your dad. If you can second guess him, then all of us can. And then you have, you know, a team that's not together, and it's not everybody's on the same page, and you can't have that. And that's what I've always tried to do is, like, you know, on the floor, he's my coach. He's not my dad. On the floor, he's my coach. Now, when I get off the floor, he can go – I mean, he's my dad. And, you know, my advice to Gavin is just treat him like a coach on the floor, you know, just like you would with anybody else. You know, Coach Fisher, Coach Little, you know, they've all chewed you out before, and you've took it fine. Okay, just because he's your dad, think of him as your coach on the floor, and you'll be just fine. And then off the floor, he's your dad. You know, go back to loving up on each other and hugging and, you know, whatever else.
Well, we've got this recorded now, so you can play this back to him when he starts getting stubborn. You'll know. You'll be like, all right, here you go. I'll play this back for you just in case.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about it. I'm afraid he might have us running a little bit. So.
Oh, you worried about this podcast? You worried about this podcast?
No, I'm worried about it. You know,
your brother. Oh, yeah.
In practice, yeah. I've already seen it a couple of times, man. He doesn't take too well to it, but he'll figure it out.
He will.
And, you know, and he's got me, you know, kind of explaining to him it's just the way it is. And, you know, and then there's also advantages to it. Like, you know, we can get in the gym whenever we want to, you know, and obviously you have to take advantage of that, but, you know, there's advantages to your dad, you know, working there and being the coach. So we've had the opportunities to, you know, to get better. Not every kid does. You know, a lot of kids have to go outside, or they have to go to a rec center. And, you know, we've been able to have, you know, we've been able to go in the gym whenever we want. We've been able to go in the weight room whenever we want, pretty much. So, you know, there's advantages that come along with it as well. So
makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and I mean, we've already discussed what it's like, you know, playing for your dad. But you mentioned, you know, that your younger brother is a little bit different from you, and that he sort of needs that affirmation and stuff. And I would assume, from an outsider's perspective, I would assume he's probably not going to get that from the coaching staff. Do you think is that where you would step in, or teammates? Is that what you guys kind of do in that situation?
Yeah, and I feel as a leader, you know, you got to build your teammates up, no matter, even if it is your brother. You know, everybody, if you're leading the team, you got to build them up. You got to be positive with them. They make a mistake, that's all right. Come on, you got it next time. You know, stuff like that. So then when it comes to the time where you need to, you know, be a little bit more, you know, harsh with them, or crawl them because they're not playing hard or they're not doing their job, then you can, and they respect that because they know you care about them and they, you've built them up. And so I feel like, maybe he might not take too well to me doing it just because I'm his brother, but, there's definitely guys or seniors in my class on my team that he can take well to and build him up. And then, and the coaching staff will do that as well. Some of the, you always have the hard hat, and that's the head coach usually. And so I think we'll be just fine. But what I always try to, explain to Gavin is, Gavin, I've been there, man. Like I've had the butt chewings. Like I'm a senior now. Like I've been through it all. Like I've seen it all. I've been chewed out. I've been yelled at. I've been, run to death. I've been through it all, and it's worked out for me. So like he's just got to, trust it at the end of the day. Just trust that it's for the best.
So, with that, been talking about games, we're talking about your family a lot and how that works and, the program itself. As far as yourself, though, as far as game preparation, how much game preparation is involved with you, and then how do you prepare yourself before the game starts? What are some routines you do and things like that to get yourself ready?
So as far as game preparation goes, like, I like to always think before the game, okay, I shouldn't be nervous because, I've put the time in the gym. I always like to go into, a game feeling like I don't think there's anybody on the other side that's, worked as hard as me. And I think that's a lot of times where your confidence comes from and your readiness for the game can come from. But as far as like, traditions, I like to take a nap before the game. We always, if it's a home game, we eat pizza. I don't like to listen to music that much because I kind of like to just, calm, just get chilled out. You don't want to get too hyped up with, your rap music or whatnot. I like to watch, a lot of times the JV plays before us. I like to watch that game, cheer them on. And it kind of just takes my mind off, the task at hand. And you need that sometimes just because you don't want to get, like I said, you don't want to get too hyped up. You don't want to, but that's just pretty much how it goes. Like I said, I like to just feel like, okay, I'm ready. I know I'm ready because, I've put the time in and I'm prepared. We've worked harder in practice than a lot of other teams. Now it's time to just go put the practice, to the game. And like we say, the game's easy. Like the practices is what's hard because of, just how hard it can be. The game is what should be easy and fun because, when you're locking teams up and you're in their crawl and, they can't run an offense or they're getting frustrated, that's the fun part of it. So that's just kind of how that goes.
Makes a lot of sense. And you've alluded to this too in your response just now. But you've obviously played in a ton of big games. We mentioned that at the beginning of the podcast. I mean, you're talking about Mac McClung, Bradley Dean, Zach Irvin, all those guys. And that's one of, tens of 20, 30. I mean, you've played in a ton of big games. So what do you do, to calm those nerves? I think you mentioned, just banking on your preparation, which, makes a lot of sense. Is there anything else that you do to sort of calm those nerves? And maybe the game outside of, let's say, the Gate City game, what's a game that you would always remember from playing?
So, another way, I like to calm my nerves is like I like to spend a little time in prayer. And, I think all of us, should do that before game because, it helps you really like focus on what really matters. And, that's a big part of it. But, other than that, it's not that complicated for me. Some people just like to, they have their routines that they have to do before every game. And it's not really like that for me. But, there's one game that comes to mind in particular that, I always remember, and that's the state championship game. And I know that's, the kind of cliche, but, that there's no better feeling than that. And winning the state championship it's unreal. I mean, it's one of the best feelings I've ever had in my life. And that game was, just especially with the seniors, I was real close with a lot of seniors. And, coming off that Gate City loss, we'd worked so hard to get to that point. And, to see that all that work, finally pay off was just such a relief. And, it honestly, like, motivated me more. Like, okay, I felt this. I want it bad again. Like, and so, that's a game I'll always remember. I'll always cherish. And that's a team I'll always, cherish. We were just all so tight, and we'll be connected at the hip forever with that state championship. So it was just unbelievable, like I said.
So, you've developed your game, you've grown as a player over the past few years. So what's some things that maybe you've learned from other players or even people you've played against that you've kind of tried to incorporate in your game to make yourself better as a player?
So the first person I would say was Scotty Hendricks, who played for my dad in 2009. Wasn't, the greatest player. Ended up going to a D3 school to play. He loved the game. He didn't really fall in love with the game until like his junior year, and that's when he kind of started working. And then he, had a good year there, transferred to King, which is D2. And then after that, he just started working and grinding. And he's played pro. I mean, he's been overseas playing in top leagues. Right now he's in Houston, training with G League guys, training with NBA players. And I remember this in 8th grade. He came in and, I'd been working at the game, more than most, but this man is working out like 5 times a day. Like, he wakes up and he gets shots up, then he's got a lift, then he's on the track, then he's getting shots up again, then he's doing like a stretching session at the end of the night. And obviously I can't do that because, I have school and other things. But, he really taught me how to make the most out of your time in the gym and really what it means to work hard. And it's got to be a daily thing. Obviously days off are good, but let your body recuperate, recover. But when you step in that gym, it's business and it's time to get better. And he really kind of taught me that. And, I didn't really take anything away from his game because we're just different players, but I took away his work ethic. And I credit him with a lot of that. He made me kind of fall back in love with the game and realize what you really have to do to if you want to be good. And then another player I'll say is Quentin Robinson, of course. And he from freshman year, he took me under his wing and he kind of showed me the ropes. And we were in the gym a lot together. And we didn't always have the greatest relationship as far as like off the floor because like he was just like an alpha, and he could get in your crap, he could be a bully, but that's just kind of how he was. And so we didn't get along that great off the floor because I didn't take well to that. But on the floor, I mean, when we were in the gym, if anytime I was getting in the gym, I was hitting him up. Let's go, you want to go get in the gym, or he was hitting me up. And I think that's kind of where our relationship started. And just build a respect for each other because of how hard we work. And a lot of people I don't think realize how, they just think Q's just a natural athlete. No, this kid is, if not more time in the gym than me. And it's been, at the rec center at 6 a.m., not under the greatest conditions. He'd be outside, at the park. And I just, he, like I said, he took me under his wing, and, I credit a lot of, things with him, just pushing me and kind of teaching me how to lead a team. So
well, we've got a couple minutes left here, and I wanted to ask you this, and this may be a podcast for another day, but you're a tremendous shooter. People know you as that. You hit 112 last year, which pretty solid all around. So and I would assume this stems from Scotty in terms of your preparation and stuff, but how and when did you develop that jump shot? That's something that people know you by. When did you start doing that sort of thing?
So I think a lot of things started coming together between 8th grade and 9th grade. It started getting stronger where I could shoot the jump shot and not shoot a set shot from 3. And that's once I that was so cool to me that I could, shoot a jump shot from 3. Is I did it all the time. Is I was on the machine all the time and working out with Coach Nichols. He's the greatest shooting coach, like I said, that I know. And so and I had, like, my dad had told me that, like, we need you, you know, as a freshman to make shots, because the year before that's what they were kind of missing. And, you know, it was all on Q, and Q, if you don't score, we don't win. And my thing was, I want to come in and be able to help this team with my shooting ability. So they're not so locked down on Q that, you know, that I can spread the floor out for him a little bit. And so that's kind of what I, you know, worked on between 8th grade and 9th grade, was just shooting so many shots, shooting your arm off, and, you know, never leaving the gym unsatisfied with how you shot it. And so that's when I think things started coming together, and I ended up making, you know, quite a few threes 9th grade year. So I think that's when I started getting labeled as, I guess, a shooter. So like I said, that's when things started coming together as far as that goes.
All right, so the final question right here. What's something interesting about you that not a lot of people know? Something you maybe do that nobody would really know? Anything
Something
like
interesting about me. Well, actually, you know, I took piano lessons for like 10 years. So, you know, I've done that for a while. But here lately, within the past year, I've picked up the guitar. You know, I think with that music background, you know, my own piano, it came just a little bit easier than some people. And, you know, when when I'm not in the gym, I love to just sit down and, you know, play the guitar, sing along to it. And, you know, I don't think everybody knows that about me.
That's the next podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But something I enjoy, and something you can always just go to.
That's awesome.
Yes, sir.
Well, it's been a good time. We're glad to have you on right here, and thank you for coming on. And hopefully your season goes well this year, and you get another state championship. So
I appreciate y'all having me on, and I remember when Cliff ended our season his senior year, and that was I think I cried. I can't remember though, but Cliff had a really good game. I was like, dang, this boy's good. I was like, who is he? He was knocking down everything. It's like, dang, but that was a funny memory I have for sure.
Oh, we appreciate it, Cam. This first time I've talked to you, you seem like a great dude. So I mean, wish you nothing but the best. I know you're going to be very successful. So I'll be watching you.
I appreciate you, and good luck with everything you're doing. I think that's great. And Mr. Puckett, I appreciate you. I miss you.
Miss you too, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate y'all.